Hello YouTube, I'm Nye from the Finale Guitar Shop in Sheffield and you're watching Folk Friend, your one-stop shop for Celtic backing guitar tutorials. Today's video is on the subject of DADGAD. I'm going to be showing you the most useful scale you'll ever learn in this tuning. The point of this scale is that you can play a whole scale of D major without ever repeating a string. And the reason that that is really useful is that if you're trying to play fingerstyle stuff, your little stubby fingers can only waggle so fast, and so it's much easier to play two adjacent strings with two adjacent fingers than it is to play one string twice really fast with one finger, which has to waggle very quickly. Before we get into this video, if you do enjoy it and you get something out of it, please do me a massive favour, hit the little like button just down there. While you're there as well, if you're scrolling down anywhere, you could hit the subscribe button and the little bell next to it. That way you will be notified when I post a new Celtic guitar tutorial, which I do every Saturday at 12:30. So first things first, let's have a look at this scale, and you can find a free tab for this. It's a free download through the Folk Friend website. You can go and get it in the corner. You will also find it's in a folder with some other D scale exercises which I've talked about in previous episodes of Folky Fridays, my live stream. You can find all of those on the Folk Friend website as well. They're linked in a little box down below and they'll be in a card in the corner in just a second. So the scale starts on D, and we're going to start from this middle D string here. The second note of a D scale is E, and we're going to get that using the little finger on the 7th fret of the A string. And then we're going to do a big stretch and put the index finger on the 4th fret of the D string. And then we're going to go to the G string open. Then we're going to go to the A string open. Then we're going to do 2 on the 4th fret, and I like to hold these two down together. And then the very last note is the top D string. Now a really nice thing about this scale is you can always have at least 2 notes of it ringing out together, and that gives it this really nice kind of harp-like quality, which you can find out more about in my interview with Jordan Lively, the amazing Irish fingerstyle guitarist. That's linked in the corner. It's a long old video in which we chat about his approaches to arranging tunes. Loads of good stuff there for fingerstyle guitarists if you want to find out more about that. So where we've got these overlapping notes, you get this really nice sound, something like this. Something like that. Now I'm going to show you some ways that you can use this scale, and the way that I'm going to demonstrate this is using a really nice, fairly modern tune that I really like called the Cafuncan Jig. It's actually called the Curfenturn Jig, which is a town in Brittany, but it's become widely known as Cafuncan now. It was also written in the key of G, but most people that you hear playing it play it in D, so I'm going to be demonstrating it in D. In that free download which I mentioned before, which as I said is linked in one of the previous cards, you can actually find a free tab for this tune, and I've tabbed it first with just the melody and then later on with the bass notes added as well. So we're going to start out with just our melody, and the melody, if you play it using this scale shape, goes... something like that. So what I've done there is I've just taken the scale shape and I've put the notes in the order of the melody. Dead simple. There's a few little fingering things there. When I'm playing the notes down here, I use the little finger and the index finger for the E is the little finger and the F sharp is the index finger. And the reason that I'm going to do that is because that leaves these fingers spare so that I could fret either D as my bass note, or G as my bass note, or A as my bass note. You want to be able to have your three main bass notes for the key under the scale at any point, and that's why these fingering choices are sensible ones. When you get to the two notes that are on the 4th fret, so the last three notes of the scale, B, C sharp and D, you want to do those with your index finger on the G string and your middle finger on the A string. And the reason for that, again, is because you could do that over a G note using a ring finger. Or, if you wanted, you could do it over the A string at the bottom as your bass note as well. Like that. So that way you can get all parts of the scale over any of your three main bass notes for the key. Your main chords for a key are always 1, 4 and 5, so in this case it's D, chord 1, G, chord 4 and A, chord 5. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run through the tune and I'm going to have a think about where my chords should go. I've talked about this loads in previous videos, so I'll just pop them up in the corner very quickly. We've got chord 1, then we've got a chord 4 sounding bit, da-da-dum, kind of sounds like it's gone off somewhere else. So I'm going to put my chord 4 under that part by using my fingering I talked about before. Then we've got another bar of chord 1, and then it's the 7th foot tap where chord 5 goes. Then chord 1, chord 1 again, chord 4, then chord 1, and chord 5, back to chord 1 to mark the end of the section. And that is the basic chord progression for the A part, and I'll tell you as well that that is also the basic chord progression for the B part. So now, if we combine our tune with our bass notes, we're going to get something like this. Here's where my chord 4 wants to go, and if I'm using the correct fingering with my index finger and middle finger doing the two 4th frets, then I can use my ring finger to get my G bass note at the bottom, like that. That's back to my D bass note, chord 1. Now we come to the section where we want chord 5, so I'm going to put my A note on the 7th fret of the bottom string with my ring finger. I'm going to get my tune going on top of that, like so, using the little finger and the index finger. And then we're back to the start. Something like that. You might find, just for the A sections, that rather than using the adjacent strings scale so that you don't have to repeat a string, it might actually be easier to do something like... So what I tend to do, if I've got two notes on the same string that are going to be played in succession, I tend to use a hammer-on between them so that my clumpy fingers don't have to do two quavers or two 8th beats in a row, because my fingers don't move that fast. I might play the very last little phrase of the tune, something like that, just using a little hammer-on for the middle of those 3 quavers. Something like that. If you practice playing that scale until you get it really fluid, you can find some really nice, easy ways to start arranging tunes in D major. And of course, if you've got a capo, you can put your capo on the 5th fret and that'll give you tunes in G major, and on the 7th fret will give you tunes in A major. In future videos I'll be coming back and having a look at some of the other handy scales. If you want a sneak preview of some of those, you'll find them for free in the Scales download pack, which is linked with this. So go and check that out if you want to get ahead of the curve. But that's it from me for today. If you have enjoyed this video and you'd like to find more of my DADGAD arrangements, then there is a book of 10 of them, the Folk Friend DADGAD Fingerstyle Collection, Volume 1. That's available now in Card in the Corner. Go check that out if you'd like to have a go at some of my kind of jazzy DADGAD arrangements of Irish tunes. And if you have enjoyed this video as well, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave us a comment down below. So thanks very much for watching. I will see you all next weekend for lots more guitar tutorials.